Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Touched and Empowered. I am here interviewing the wonderful and amazing Marie Beller, who we are not related, but I feel like she's a sister anyways. Marie is a certified theta healing master teacher and certificate of science with over 20 years of doing psychic readings. She loves to host events that call soul family members together. Like I said, sisters in one way or another. She is also the owner of House of Kellen and is expanding into hosting retreats with her partner under the name of Transformational Kink. So before we get started into that, because I know that that is an absolutely fantastic topic, I want to share that I was surprised to see you this morning for our podcast, because we don't really realize sometimes what happens when we look at someone's email address and not their name. Because when I saw your email address for today's appointment, it said Lola, and I don't know a Lola. So do you want to clarify that just a little bit for me?
Yeah, so once upon a time, I was acting in a play, which is unusual because I don't like to act, which is a whole long story how I was in a two-person play. It was supposed to be a play that I had written, but long story. So that's what it was. And the main critic in my town really disliked when the actor was was directing, and I was doing both, but also really disliked the author of this play. So we had two strikes against us when it came to getting a good review. But this reviewer didn't know what I looked like either. So Marie Miller was the director of said play, and Lola Connolly was the actress. And so we both got fairly decent reviews, but had we both been the same person according to his perception, I know we would have gotten slammed because I've been following his work for years. So that's how Lola Connolly was born. And when I started, and so that became my stage name from there on out. And so when I was in my phase of doing a lot of painting, a lot of visual arts, I would sign everything as Lola Connolly.
See, now that right there is interesting as to how we have to adapt and overcome other people's expectations and judgments.
Yeah, I was very much vibing too in that era of my life, how there's this perception that you can't be too good at something. So I would split my my good qualities into different personalities, like Marie can do this and Lola can do that.
It's amazing how we do that. You know, we don't think about what that does to us as an individual when we have to, do that kind of split to function. Because I know I did that split as to, I went by Katrina at my corporate job, but everyone in my family and my friends knew me as Katie. So I understand having that kind of split because Katie couldn't be good at a corporate job. So thank you for sharing that. But now that everything is, I'm assuming, no longer split, now that everything has come together, what else is going on in your world?
Well, actually, on that same theme of bringing all of myself together, because for a long time, my name was Lola Marie too. So I was kind of halfway there, and then it went down to Marie, right? So it's been like a long thing. And so actually with the retreat that we mentioned that I'm doing with my partner, that to me is like that final stage of being all of myself in one person without having to split. And fully accepting all the parts of myself, and then being able to show all the parts of myself to the world instead of like the secret part of me that only exists over here.
And that is beautiful. And, the fact that it is a semi-taboo subject of kink, just like suicide is a taboo subject in some situations. But I like how you address it as accepting all of you.
I mean, it really is. And also too, just to throw numbers around, they've done so many studies year after year after year for the last 30, 50 years. I don't know how long it goes back. Proving, and every time it comes back, 30% of Americans are kinky.
I can easily see that because it's like everyone has that little bit of mischievous, that little bit of wanting to play in every aspect of their life.
And I bet if we really broadened the definition, those numbers might be higher, because some people think I'm not into whips or things like that, or floggers or pain, therefore I'm not kinky.
Oh, there's so many different flavors of kink.
Right? There are. It's so broad. I would say that number is way higher, but I'm pretty sure when they do those surveys, that's what people think when they fill it out.
Probably because of, for the longest time, at least from what I know, the longest time kink only referred to the BDSM aspect of it. But I am a romance nut. I read all flavors of romance, from the gentle little comedy to hardcore smut. And it has opened my eyes to the possibilities of what is not only acceptable, but what feeds somebody's soul. And I really do believe that having that kind of personal connection with another, that deep of a communication and connection with another person really does feed our soul.
It really does. And in the process of learning like how to communicate on that deep of a level, on that tender of a topic, I think honestly, when you apply to other parts of your lives, it can be really transformational, because there's a deeper level of self-knowledge and communication you have to have in order to be, weird in the way that you want to be.
I love that. Weird in the way that you want to be. It's like, be unapologetically yourself.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I also know is the fantastic work that you do with theta healing. And I have seen and heard of the healing powers of being in a healthy, kinky relationship. And I'm wondering, are the two connected in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, they absolutely can be. I mean, part of the reason I'm able to be in the situation I am now is because I've used theta healing to really dig into my past and release my shock and trauma, to deal with my assault, to release a lot of things, to be able to be present in who I am now. So yes, and we're actually going to be combining it at the retreat, where we're going to be doing like the morning's going to be all healing and the afternoon's going to be let's go play and be weird. But
that's beautiful.
Yeah. But I do think they go hand in hand, because there's been times where I've been in a scene with my partner and something comes up. I'm like, I better do a session on myself tomorrow. And part of it is too, like having that self-knowledge of being like, okay, this isn't something we discussed, like, or this isn't something I expected to come up, but I'm having a reaction to the scene, and I now have the tools to deal with it a lot more efficiently.
Right. And that's amazing to have that kind of an awareness. And I know that for me, I haven't had that awareness for very long. You and I met back in November. Oh my God, it's been almost a year. It's hard to believe that. We had met in Fiji on a fantastic trip where we both got to connect with our own intuition and everything. And that had started the leap in my self-healing and taking out my own emotional trash, and seeing and hearing everything that not only you had overcome, but other people who were there at that event, helped give me an understanding as to, well, if someone else has done it, then I can do it too. So you became a mentor without even realizing it, honey.
Thank you. That's awesome. I do try.
So with everything else, because I know you do the theta healing, I know you have your House of Kellen, and besides the retreat, what other fun things that you do? Because I know of a few things that you do, but I don't know of everything that you do.
So I've started doing a few times a year a really fun event. It's online, because I used to run psychic fairs. I started the San Diego Psychic Fair because when I moved there from San Francisco, there wasn't a really cool fair to me for me to post up at and do my cards. And with COVID, I transitioned to it online. And so I've started doing a thing where I basically just hang out with magical people and do this thing where I interview them. They lead meditation. So that's been a really fun connector that we do a few times a year.
Oh, fun.
It is. Yeah, it's like 3 days long, and it's basically 5 healers a day. And so people get exposed to all different modalities and ways to heal.
So it's kind of like a way of getting a sample of all the different parts and pieces that are out there instead of trying to figure it out on your own, whether A resonates or B resonates.
Right, because like part of the way I've always been as a business person is it's not just about, me promoting House of Kellen. I'm like, oh wait, I also have these also super cool friends, so maybe you like them. So I've always been in the energy of trying to, share my audience with other people and help my audience find other people that can help them. Because I do believe as healers, we should have, or when you're looking for healing, you should have more than one healer. You should have different perspectives and come at it from different directions.
Yes, because there really is no one true way to heal. I mean, it could be through theta healing, it could be through Reiki, it could be through what I do with the trauma resolution work. It could be what ACE does.
And sometimes you need different things at different times. Like one of the people that's co-facilitating the retreat with me does Kundalini activation and light integration. She actually developed her own modality. And I love working with her and going to her things because I don't have to talk. With theta healing, active participant, right? In the healing. And like there is a little bit of effort as the client you do have to put into it and make it as easy as possible. But you still got to put something into it. But when I'm going to men's things, I'm just like, cool, I'm just going to lay here and receive. And I don't have to think about anything. So there's different, it's a different feeling, it's a different vibration, but you're still going to get a lot of healing. And some things, one's more appropriate than the other.
That's true, because there are some times where we can be in the state of receiving and allow somebody to help us with doing the healing where we do not have to be an active participant. But then there are other times where it's almost a requirement for us to be an active participant in our own healing for the healing to stick.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that's beautiful about theta healing. It's really there for the people who need to understand why the F is this happening, like that why is this going on in my life? It's a good thing to get that understanding, that mental thing. I have clients who literally like their healing doesn't happen when I'm doing my magical thing. Their healing happens for them when out of their mouth comes the bottom belief and they discover for themselves why their life is the way it is.
Oh, now that's enlightening.
And then everything I do after that is bonus, but it's part of it is you have to be really patient with the process. And it's basically about allowing the truth to come out in a way that gives the client an understanding of themselves.
Yeah, I am not one for, sometimes I am very, very, very patient for other people, but when it comes to my own healing, I am very impatient. And I do greatly appreciate the healing and conversations that we have had because, I am going through we're just going to call it a wonky situation in my world right now. And I have taken out my own trash. I had done but it still felt like there was some kind of funky residue that I could not clear away. And just one conversation with you helped immensely get that. It's almost like I was able to wash the grease off of my hands. And I know that's a funky analogy, but it felt like I was able to finally just let go of this tiny little piece that was still stuck to me.
Yep. And that's kind of one of my specialties is with people I've done so much healing, but I'm not quite there yet. And what's that final step?
See, I knew you were the right person to speak to. And I have to thank Ace because Ace pointed out to me another wonderful thing about you. Even when we're not in a session, your voice heals. And that is an amazing gift. Just hearing your voice just helps heal and just lifts everyone's spirits.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to hear you say that because I'm actually owning that a little bit more. I've started recording meditations and putting them out on YouTube, and just owning the fact that literally there is a resonance that I have.
Yeah, I noticed that in Egypt because we were in Egypt together too. You did so much. You have done so many powerful things.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you have explained, everything that you are a part of, everything that you help create is amazing to me because you're doing what I want to do.
Oh.
You are living 100% authentically, unapologetically yourself. To me, in all aspects of your life is what it shows to me. Whether you're there 100% yet or not, I don't think it matters, but that's what's showing out into the world. And I just want everyone who's listening to know that you can get there.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, it's not like flip a switch and you're there.
It took a work. And just so people know like where I've actually come from, because like, yeah, I've been through some things. I did spend a whole summer like living in my car in California because that's kind of what you do, right? And I have been through like nasty divorce. I had a abusive ex-husband, and that led to a series of other not so awesome dudes. So yeah, I understand where people are coming from with a lot of things that you've been through, but I only got to where I got because I did all the hard work.
Right. And one of the things that I love about this podcast is that we're helping provide insights so then that way the person who hears it doesn't have to have as hard of a time as what we've had to, as what we've gone through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I became a teacher, to be like, hey, here's an easier way. Let's like shortcut this. Let's just skip over some of this stuff that maybe you don't have to go through the things that we see coming up next.
Yeah, let's do what we can to help just lift everyone up.
Absolutely.
And even if you only lift up a smidge, in the long run, that slowly grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And then when you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much I've grown since then.
It only takes, you only have to change your trajectory by like 1 degree to have a massive change.
Yeah, that analogy never dawned on me until I realized, funny story, until I realized that my steering wheel was actually like 1 degree off. And I couldn't figure out why I kept drifting over into the next lane. It was because my steering wheel and my tires were out of alignment. So yeah, you really can like travel great distances, just being that tiny bit of a shift.
Yeah.
So as we get to wrapping up the episode, anything that is calling for you to share, because you always have such wonderful pearls of wisdom.
It's not a pearl of wisdom, but just something that I think people do need to understand. There's a misconception around my theta healing classes because only, again, it's at 30%, 25 to 30% of my students actually become professional theta healers. So just, if you're called to theta healing, because people say, oh, it's a certification class, I don't want to practice. I'm like, it's highly likely you're not going to. Most people actually come into this work and do this for their own self and for their own healing. So instead of looking at it as this is a certification class, it's more like this is a retreat to help for self-healing.
And I do like that because of the fact that there are times to where we do the self-work, but we don't get the depth of the knowledge on how it works for us unless we go through a certification process. Even if we never teach it ourselves, we then have that knowledge for ourselves to do the work.
Because honestly, in the long run, you're going to get more out of going through the classes than you are from getting individual sessions. Because it leaves people with the ability to do the work for themselves.
And I love that helps people and it empowers people.
Yeah, because honestly, the more that we can empower our clients, the more trauma that we can release, the more self-acceptance we bring into the world, it can change everything.
And we will do that one person at a time, one talk at a time, one teaching at a time.
Yeah. And I guess the pearl of wisdom, though, that I do want to share is that I honestly believe that everyone is magical and everyone has psychic abilities and everyone has access to such abundance. We just have to learn how to tap into it.
And I think it all starts with being aware that we have that potential.
Yeah. It's like, in some times I want to say, like, I'm not special because I'm the super psychic. I'm super psychic because I trained and I was, I had a little bit to begin with, but that doesn't make me that unique because we all have access to that. I'm unique for other reasons, not because I'm psychic. I can see your brain there.
Yeah, no, you're right. My brain just kind of went, ooh, warped, because you're right. The fact that we all have access to these tools, it's like we all have access to basic learning how to write, read in public schools and everything like that. Why don't we all have access to these other abilities? It light bulb goes off in my head. Wow, I just got it. Another epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much, Marie, because every little bit that you have shared, at least for me, is always another piece of wisdom and helps me on my own personal journey. And I know that those who are listening are also going to be getting these little nuggets, and it might not click right away, just like it didn't click for me right away, but eventually it will resonate and be able to help them move forward in their own magical journey.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Mwah. Love you, honey.
Love you too.
Thank you, Marie Miller, for giving to the Teen Suicide Prevention Fund. Marie would like to offer everyone the following.
If you're one of those amazing humans who wants to learn all of the theta healing in under a year, I have a program designed just for you. So starting this November, we're going to do the basic classes and then get into all the advanced classes all the way through DNA 3 in the beginning of the year. So I hope to join you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.